the greater the spiritual experiences we have, the greater the resistance or the distance between the source of what we're experiencing and our own consciousness is. Because that's why there's so much light. So, as you grow spiritually, often you recognize that, oh, less phenomena, less everything. And I've talked to so many people, who've been in spiritual studies their entire life, and then everything is gone. Everything. There is no light, there is no phenomena, there is no spiritual anything. And they feel completely lost. And then I have to explain to them that, yeah, it's because pretty much you have reached the kind of ceiling of your current belief systems, your current models, what you're studying. And then you're aligned with it. So there are no distances anymore that can manifest. And this is what happens spiritually. Like, the more we are aligned, the more calm everything becomes. So it's not just noise reduction. It's also the reduction of phenomenon and light and everything that we often associate with the spiritual. So do not get addicted to what people often relate to as spiritual. They're just observing their own karma through whatever focus point they have. Now, everything comes into being and then it becomes nothing again. Because something can only exist for as long as that represents a certain resistance. And the kind of law is that when something comes into being, it's because it represents a certain form of resistance, also in your own life. When you have worked out that karma, when you are in alignment, that manifestation can no longer exist. Right? Because if every manifestation represents resistance, it can only exist for as long as the resistance is there. Now, what can be difficult to understand, and many people have asked me this, well, if this is the case, and I'm working out my karma, why are our stuff still here? Because then you would think that everything disappears. And the answer to that is that most manifestations are collective. If you think of, let's say, 1 million people carrying the same resistance of vibration when it comes to something specific, that will force matter to bring into being a certain type of manifestation. It can even be a product. It can be like whatever. And that will then carry that vibration and allow people to interact with it and then work out their resistance. I'm oversimplifying now, but just so you get the idea. And that will have to be in existence for as long as it works as a tuning fork for that particular type of imbalance. Now, when you have worked out your karma, it will still be in existence. But the interesting thing is, it will exist less. If we can think of the energy of 1 million people forcing matter to create manifestation, and you take away 1/1,000,000th of the energy, it will exist a little less, and then a little less, and a little less, and a little less, until it can hardly exist anymore. And then it will simply disappear. Not like necessarily evaporates into thin air, but it will suddenly not be relevant, and it will cease to exist. So, there are two different levels here at the same time. It's how you relate to something and your energy being invested in a manifestation, and that being dissolved, going into nothingness. And then understanding that the manifestation itself contains also the energy and mirroring from other individuals. But whenever your energy is then being kind of disconnected from that manifestation exists a little less. In our own life, things come and go. Manifestations come and go. Manifestations are also spaces. It's thoughts, emotions, bodies, objects, people, situations. It's all of that. They all represent different ways of displaying your own resistance. So you can interact with it, and through that interaction, you will be attuned. And I say it's when you are in that alignment, in that particular principle, that manifestation will no longer be relevant. And it will simply not be part of your life anymore. It's not about you saying that, I am letting go of this and putting this behind me because I'm moving on. It's not how it works. That's trying to run away. It's only when it dissolves as a result of you having reached alignment, reach a state of nothingness, then manifestation is unnecessary. So, nothing is everything. That's the goal in every single process, every single manifestation. So the purpose of every single manifestation in existence is to basically cease to exist, to reach nothingness, which means that that form is no longer necessary. And this is also how consciousness in the horizontal reality is being lifted by individuals in collective consciousness growing past a certain manifestation that is coarser. And when that is being removed, that energy is no longer held. And when the collective consciousness then moves upwards, there will be new manifestations representing that vibration. So we're also being lifted through matter. It will always be an accurate depiction of where we are spiritually. As I said, the center of you, the center of any situational manifestation is nothing. With the vertical and horizontal, so it exists in both forms at the same time. So when something comes into being, it's that oneness, nothingness, then being filtered through collective consciousness and resistance that forces some of that to turn into this. It's still ultimately nothing. And spiritually, we learn over time to relate to the nothing as the something, and the something as in the nothing, because when you look at an object, the mind will exclude everything but that. So if you have the white light, you can say the white light contains 100 million colors. When you look at then one color and you define that color, you are excluding all the other 80 million colors except for that one. So when we look at a manifestation and we believe the manifestation, we basically disconnect ourselves from what is, from the nothingness, from the white light. And then we only relate to our resistance and we go nowhere. What we learn spiritually over time is to use whatever color we connect to use that as an angle to connect with a white light. This is what nothingness is. It is the allness. And it is in everything, because everything comes out of it, which means that everything in existence is a pathway to that centeredness. But you can only use a manifestation as a pathway to centeredness when you don't define it based on its appearance, because then you are describing the resistance. So everything in existence, therefore, is a pathway to oneness, if you allow it to be so.